Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of How Did I Shoot This One? And today it's about this shot. I just love the vibes and all those lines, don't you? So let's see how we created this one. Now, when I think about old photography, most of the time you think about harsh light quality. And as you probably know, I'm a big movie lover, and especially older movies like the Universal Monsters. And what was one of those things that they used a lot in those setups? Yes, Fresnels. But today it's not about Fresnels, it's about something else. Because when you look at those movies, a lot of the stuff that they created was also based on what you didn't see. The special effects at that time weren't that great, so you had to build tension another way. And what is the best way to build tension? Something that you don't see, or what's lurking in the shadows, right? So shadows are the soul of a shot is a well-known expression, and it's absolutely true. If you take the shadows out of a shot, you're left with something that isn't real, because in real life there are shadows. But shadows can also be a big problem. Like, for example, where do you want the shadows? Do you want them around the nose area? Do you want them under the nose, like the butterfly? And if the butterfly is a little bit crooked, does it still look right? No, it doesn't. So shadows can enhance a shot, but shadows can also, well, totally destroy a shot. So you have to be careful. Now, there's a few things that you have to realize about shadows. Shadows are something that you can control 100%, or not 100%, but very close. The first thing you have to choose is your light shaper. So what kind of light shaper do you use in your photo shoot to get the results you want? If you want a very nice soft quality of image, you will get a large softbox. In other words, you will get nice diffuse light wrap around your model, and the shadows will be very, very nice and soft. If you don't want any shadows at all on the backdrop, you simply follow the lines of your light shaper, you follow the line of your camera, and you place your model slightly in front of your backdrop. So make sure that the shadow falls out of your view area on your camera. So it's a very simple solution, right? But in my case, I love those shadows. So in most of my shots, you will see models standing close to the backdrop, creating that nice connection or glue between the backdrop and your model, or the scene and your model. But today it's about something else. When we talk about movies and we talk about very stark contrast, what is the first thing you think of? Probably Nosferatu, right? With the hand going up to the staircase. But how about when I tell you about those old detective movies, the film noirs? You see the detective looking through the Venetian blinds to the damsel in distress, right? That kind of movies. So today it's all about that. We are going to create a set where we're going to use shadows to enhance the mood of the shot. Now, you have to realize that those shots are done during workshops, so the results are not 100% perfect, or wow, look at that shot, it's museum quality. It's a workshop. But the idea and the results is something that you can work on further to get the perfect shot. So for this setup, we are using Venetian blinds on a background system. Getting an extra background system in your studio is awesome because you can use it to hang chandeliers from, cloth material, you can build sets around it, and you can even balance, for example, a window against it. We're going to do that in another video. So, Venetian blinds on our backdrop system. We have a nice backdrop and we build a little set in the backdrop just to show people what you can do. Now, with these kinds of setups, it's pretty easy to get nice harsh shadows on your model when you place your model close to the Venetian blinds. Now, let me first explain how you do something like that. Now, what you have to realize about shadows and light shapers is that distance determines the hardness of the shadow. Let me explain. If this is your light source, this is the Venetian blinds, and your model is all the way over there, you won't get any harsh shadows. But if this is your light source, this is the Venetian blinds, and your model is just behind the Venetian blinds, the shadows will be very, very harsh. The only problem is, if this is your light source, this is the Venetian blinds, and your model is a little bit more into the set, you will find out that you don't get those nice stripes anymore. And this is what it's all about today. Now, of course, when you have your model sitting in a chair, in a set, you don't want a lot of sharp shadows. You want it a little bit more diffused. But in this case, we wanted to make it as sharp as possible in our studio. So what is the trick? Place the light as far away as possible and then just aim towards the Venetian blinds. And that way you will get very harsh shadows, but the big thing is they will go further into the set. Remember light fall-off, the inverse square law? You can say something like that about shadows. If you place your light closer to the Venetian blinds, the shadows will be softer and they will fall off more rapidly. If you place your light very far away from the Venetian blinds, the shadows will be very sharp just behind the Venetian blinds, but it will slightly just feather out over the backdrop, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Now, to up the ante a little bit, we're actually using a continuous light source also in our set. This will give a little bit more of an oomph to the shot, at least for my taste. So how do you combine strobes with, of course, continuous lighting? The first thing you have to realize is that they're two totally different things, but you can capture them in one capture. The first thing you have to realize is my strobe. It has to be far away and it has to just cover a small area because we don't want the light spilling all over. So for the light source, I'm actually using a reflector and a very, very thick grid. I want to make sure that the angle of my light is as narrow as possible. So I'm taking a thick grid, aiming it straight at my Venetian blinds and placing the light very far away. Now the nice thing about placing your light very far away, and of course also hybrid strobes, is that you can go very low in your light output. And that's vital if you want to combine it with continuous lighting. Now the continuous lighting doesn't emit a lot of light compared to the strobe. But it really doesn't. Because the strobe is a pulse, it's one, boom, and then it freezes your motion and it freezes your model. The continuous lighting is cumulative, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, I'm Dutch, so it builds up over time. So in other words, if you choose f16, 125th of a second, ISO 100, you will see nothing. Yeah, you will see the strobe. And you will see a very faint outline probably of a light. So what I do with a set like this, I set my camera up for EVF, exposure compensation. And I just look at my set, do I like it like this? Do I like the lighting? Do I see the light bulbs or barely? And then when I've set it up like that, I will just look at my viewfinder and go like, okay, ISO 800, 2.8, a 30th of a second. Can I handhold it? Yes. And now I know exactly ISO 800, or whatever I said just, 2.8. So now I take out my light meter and I will meter the light. There's only one problem with this setup. I love using the light meter, but as soon as you have something like Venetian blinds in your set and you shine through the Venetian blinds or anything else, make sure that if you do a light meter measure, that you realize that it could very well be that you need to raise the light or even lower the light because of the Venetian blinds. They block off a lot of light. So let's go into the studio and let's see the setup and of course the final results. As you can see, getting harsh shadows in your studio shouldn't be really hard. The only problem, and this is something I also struggled with when I started out with this, is distance. Now, when I started out doing something like this, I actually started out with a big softbox and that failed miserably. And then when I started to using harder light, I was very happy when my model was very close to the Venetian blinds. I absolutely loved that effect. But as soon as he was further away, I couldn't get it right anymore. And that was all because my strobe was already against the wall in my studio. Now with this new studio, we have a lot more space and that's great for these kinds of shots. So when you start to experiment in a smaller space, make sure you have a very harsh light quality. So a snoot with a grid or a reflector with a grid. It doesn't matter, but as long as it's very, very harsh. And you can test that out by just holding your hand in front of the wall and just look at your modeling light. If you see a very distinct hard shadow, that's probably right. And now it's all about distance. Start at the furthest away that you can get in your studio. Take the shot and look at those shadows. And if they're not harsh enough, well, move your model closer to that area that casts the shadow. The cool thing about this technique, you can use Venetian blinds to get that effect of somebody is sitting in a set with Venetian blinds. You can also make a look through the Venetian blinds or use it as backlighting, as you saw in the results. But the cool thing is, you can also use this technique, for example, for flowers or plants to create nice shadows on your backdrop or maybe even on your model. Or, well, you're the creative part, right? Figure it out yourself. You can use it in so many different ways. Casting shadows, it was used in movies to get atmosphere. Why not use it in your photography? See you again next time. Bye, guys.